We're live. This is dead air.
We all know that everything's better with feta. Did you just roll your eyes, Sami?
Hey, all you cats and kittens.
Hey everyone, welcome to my new home kitchen. This week's genius recipe is for shakshuka, which is commonly made by braising eggs in a sauce across the Middle East. This one is a little bit different, and I love it not just because of how delicious it is, but because it's nearly impossible to screw up. Were my hands weird?
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of Mr. Burns.
No, it's fine.
This recipe comes from Sami Tamimi and Tara Wigley's beautiful new cookbook, Palestine, which is essentially Sami's love letter to Palestinian cooking from his homeland. And if you like the sound of this recipe so far, this would be a really good time to hit like and subscribe, and you will get all the genius recipes, plus you'll be supporting all of the other great things that Food 52 is doing on their channel. So one of the genius things about this recipe that I really love is that they make this incredible topping that goes on top of the shakshuka, but you also could use this topping to put on crackers, to put on all sorts of things. It is so good. And all you have to do is stir a few things together. So we have feta, some olive oil, some chopped parsley, some toasted and ground coriander, just kind of roughly crushed in mortar and pestle, and some chili flakes. And that just gets stirred together and it can hang out. You can make it a head. And that hangs out while we make the rest of the shakshuka. And now I wanted to show you prepping this pepper. Because several episodes ago, we did Michelle Hume's shishito style green peppers, and I showed you how I have always prepped peppers and taken out their stem and their core. And I asked if all of you had ideas for better ways to do it. And of course you did. There were lots of better ways to do it than the way I was doing it. But one method in particular was suggested by a lot of people, so I wanted to try it. I have a good feeling about it. Instead of, as I had done before, cutting out the core, yanking it out, then having to like shake all of the seeds out, kind of like a rattle, people recommended slicing through once, right through the stem, and then just, wow, this one actually has very few seeds. Usually there's this big ol' knot of seeds right there, but basically you would then just pull out, oh yeah, the stem just pops right out. And if I had that whole big core there, I think it would come out really easily too. Okay, I like this method.
Living a lie.
There's always a better way to do things than the way I'm doing them, I'm pretty sure. And I really appreciate when people tell me that. Now these just need to be in 1/2-inch slices. All right, thanks everyone for your trick. That was the last thing that I needed to prep. Once you have everything prepped, it comes together incredibly fast on the stovetop. So I will meet you back there where we will see the genius part of this technique that, you know, at the point of other shakshuka recipes that I tend to falter a little bit, this completely changed that. But in the meantime, here are some highlights from my conversation with Sami and Tara, who told me more about this technique and this recipe and their lovely cookbook. Hi, Sami and Tara.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining. I know you're both in two very different time zones from me, so thank you so much for that. Where are you both right now?
I am in Umbria in Italy at the moment. I've been here for the last 3 months.
I'm an hour behind Sami in London, in England.
Of the many different ways that you gathered recipes for this book, where did this one come from?
This came actually from my family. We haven't had the shakshuka, the traditional shakshuka that you kind of see. It's a kind of scrambled eggs into onion and tomatoes, and actually sometimes they call it egg and tomato. It's I mean it's rooted probably from Turkey or from the Ottomans, where you know they do almost the same thing, but they add also butter on top. So yeah, shakshuka for me as a kid, it was scrambled eggs into tomato and onion, and we added other element to it to we at home we use the ground spices, but the recipe asks for toasted whole spices, and the feta kind of added on top as a different element and texture as well. And it works. It's also a very easy dish to make.
Sami, it's such a good example of one of the recipes in our book, because it's something that Sami would have had as a child in a sort of simpler version without all the toppings that he brings to the test kitchen with his kind of his memory and the technique. But then once it gets into the test kitchen, then we start kind of playing around. So that I think the evolution is so demonstrated by this recipe.
The thing that really drew me to the recipe at first is that obviously like a poached or braised shakshuka is theoretically very simple to make as well, but I think that some people are intimidated to get their eggs just right. They're worried about overcooking them or undercooking them, or maybe like some are over, some are under. And I happen to be one of them. I'm sometimes paranoid about not, getting that exactly what I want. So I was really drawn to the idea that with scrambling you have that much more control. I'm curious if that crossed your mind at all when you were including it.
Yeah, and also, a lot of people also don't like very runny eggs, which is another kind of thing that I had in mind. But it is, with the Palestinian bread shakshuka, it's really kind of not easy to
go wrong.
Kind of, get it wrong.
Yeah, and I'm a pathological recipe quadrupler. So I also love shakshukas, but particularly the red one, in that you can just quadruple the base, and then you've got a kind of supper in less than 5 minutes, because you can just add whatever you want to the pan and then slowly scramble your eggs through it.
Thank you both for spending a good chunk of your evening with me. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Sunday.
Thank you. Good luck with your move. I hope it's all grand.
Thank you. It's a work in progress. Medium high. I've used this stove approximately 3 times so far, so hopefully I got the right one. We unpacked this kitchen maybe a week ago. It was the first thing we unpacked, and the rest of the house is not. Thank you for coming on this journey with us. Right, Mike?
Right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. It's another electric stove, and I think it's pretty fierce, so I think it'll get hot quickly. This recipe starts, as so many do, with onions cooking in olive oil. It's not hot yet. I do have the right burner. Thanks. Thank you. There it is. There's that sizzle.
Real professional.
You know how everyone always says, like, warm up your oil and then put your stuff in? Doesn't always happen. It's okay. So these are gonna cook for about 5 minutes to get on their way. Then we're going to add in the red peppers, cook it for another 5 minutes, and then everything happens really fast and it develops a ton of flavor really fast. I'm gonna call it, because I know the onions are gonna keep cooking along with the peppers. You wanna take a peek at this, Mike?
I was like just here.
I know. Soft, sweet, golden. Peppers are going in, might as well stay.
All right, here I am.
Okay. Peppers. And these might feel kind of surprisingly chunky, but they will break down and they will give a lovely texture in the finished sauce. So really fast, a bunch of flavorful things go in. Garlic, which has either been crushed in a garlic press or mortar and pestle, or minced is fine too. This is crushed cumin seeds that have been toasted. Crushed coriander that's been toasted. Paprika. Let me give that a stir. Uh-oh. The stove is running away with me. Here, I'm gonna take it off the heat for a second because it's getting crazy. All right, we're back. Okay, and 1 teaspoon, I'm just using my finger here, of tomato paste. So that only needs a minute to really like singe those spices and aromatics in. And then we dump in a whole bunch of tomatoes that have been chopped and some cherry tomatoes and some water. Make it saucy. There. Now it's calming down. Wow, it smells so good. You think it smells good too?
I think it smells good too.
That's great. Okay, and so there is this condiment that Sami and Tara speak so highly of, and it sounds so incredible. And if I had been in this kitchen for more than a week, I would have made. It is called shatta, and it's made by, it's basically similar to other sort of hot sauces and chili pastes where you ferment some fresh chilies with salt. What? Uh-oh.
Giving a call.
Uh-oh. If you too get a call in the middle of making your shakshuka, it does come together quickly, but you can slide it off the heat. It's that forgiving. Okay, so anyway, as I was saying, they give an alternative, which is rose harissa. I ordered rose harissa, and I don't think that it's necessarily what they had in mind. I think they wanted a paste. This happens to be a powder, but it's really tasty, so I'm going for it. And if I need a little more sauciness, I'll just add a little bit more water. And I need a couple teaspoons of it. Whew, okay, that smells really, really good. Now it needs to just simmer and become a little bit saucier for about 15 minutes on lower heat, which hopefully my stove will respond to quickly. And then we will scramble these eggs in. I'll start the scrambling now. We need a little bit of salt and pepper in both the sauce and the eggs. And while I do not have a pepper grinder still, what I always have is a mortar pestle, or in this case, a molcajete. So I'm just gonna grind some peppercorns. All right, pepper, pepper, pepper. This simmers for 15 minutes, gets really saucy, and then we stir in some eggs. Look at Dad. Yes. This part's so easy, you can do it one-handed. You just dump your beaten eggs right in, all at once, and then you can swirl the pan a little, you can just give it a few light folds. Sami and Tara say not to stir it in too much though. You want just kind of streaks of scrambled eggs. So I'm gonna try to stop right there, and then just cover it and let it cook for 4 more minutes. It has been 4 minutes. Hot, you're right, it's hot. It may not be as immediately beautiful as shakshuka is when it has the eggs poached in it individually. I mean, or maybe it is. I think it's pretty beautiful actually. But if you're attached to that look of shakshuka with the eggs kind of bobbing in the sauce, this topping, which I'm going to dump very gracelessly on top, does a really lovely job of just adding not just like a really lovely flavor dimension, but visually too. Does that look okay, Mike?
That's fine. All right, what do you think?
Oy, oy, oy. Okay. You can't get anything past this one. This is so incredible. There's so much flavor that gets packed into this in a relatively short amount of time. That marinated feta would be good on everything. That sauce would be good as a base for anything. But together, they make the most exciting breakfast that I've had in a very long time. We better go eat this, but before we do, I wanted to share some news with you, which is that we just launched a podcast. It's called The Genius Recipe Tapes, and it comes directly from these videos that we do. All of those conversations that I have with the geniuses, we actually talk about so much more beyond just the recipe, and they share so many tips, they share what's going on in their lives. They're really, really rich, wonderful conversations, and I'm really glad that we have a way to share them with all of you now. So you can find them and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, anywhere that you get your podcasts, and I would really love to know what you think. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time.